what's outside the court. Let's speak to Professor Sahar Aziz, Chancellor, Social Justice Scholar and Director of the Centre for Security, Race and Rights at Rutgers University Law School. Professor, I know you're at Columbia Law School right now, hence the backdrop. Just looking at the figures, 34 people, 3 companies charged by Robert Mueller. The Manafort case, the only one to have gone to trial so far. Several others, of course, have pleaded guilty. What did you make of this?
This is an unusually light sentence. I think that the judge clearly had quite a bit of sympathy for Manafort for unknown reasons. Many court watchers may, particularly those who are critical of the appointment process for federal judges in terms of their ideological leanings based on who appointed them, may wonder whether because this was a Reagan appointee that he may have more likelihood to be sympathetic, or perhaps the judge thought payment of the $24 million was sufficiently punitive and that in fact jail time wasn't necessary or as much jail time as the prosecutor had wanted and well below the guidelines because he is 69 years old and he is ill and he's clearly, as he comes in with a wheelchair, is working that system and trying to make himself seem much more vulnerable than perhaps he actually is.
And he also faces more jail time, presumably, in this case next week, where in Washington, D.C., where he's pleaded guilty on 2 conspiracy charges.
Yes, and I think that Judge Berman, who was appointed by Obama, I expect will be less sympathetic. One, because he has lied and he has spoken in court in ways that she has found to be disrespectful and has pushed back on her. So I suspect that she may not be as sympathetic to him, particularly because he was caught lying. And in that case, it's more about his failure to report lobbying efforts and working with Ukraine, whereas the first case that we're speaking of now is more about him failing to pay taxes and hiding money abroad. And so arguably that may seem as more of a mundane white-collar fraud case, whereas the other one may be seen as more pernicious in terms of corrupting the political system.
And just briefly, if you would, I mean, it's pretty extraordinary, just the basic facts, isn't it? Looking past the detail for a moment. Despite what Mr. Manafort's defense attorney said, he has admitted passing on information to a business partner widely believed to have ties to Russian intelligence. He was living this lavish lifestyle, funded by money, about $30 million of it, which he effectively laundered. Those are extraordinary facts in themselves.
No, absolutely, which is why this sentence is remarkably lenient. And again, if the skeptics will probably be concerned that perhaps the judge, because of his political appointment by a Republican, may have seen him or humanized him in a way that if he were a different defendant, particularly if he was a minority defendant, I don't think would have gotten that much leniency. So different judges, and judges have significant discretion, and it will be interesting to see if, for example, the prosecution attempts to appeal or not.
Professor, I think we're having some problems with the sound link. We'll leave it there for now, but I think we got the gist of it all. Thank you very much indeed.